This is Jen from FLOW, and this is a training video on creating agreements in FOLIO. The Agreements app is the central hub of FOLIO's Electronic Resource Management, or ERM, that connects records from the licenses, organizations, e-usage, purchase orders, users, and e-holdings apps. To create a new agreement, go to the Agreements app in the menu and select the New link on the top right. An agreement has very few required fields, so we may create a record that is as brief or detailed as needed. The only required fields in an agreement are the name, status, and the period start date. Agreements can optionally be linked to records from the Organizations and Licenses apps. Those records should be created first in order for them to be linked while creating the agreement. Otherwise, they can be added to the agreement after it has been created. We will start by entering the vendor name and a status. We'll choose Active as status, indicating that this is a current agreement. From Renewal Priority, we will choose For Review. This is an optional field to flag an agreement for review before the end of the current period. We could also flag an agreement as definitely cancel or definitely renew. Next, we will add an agreement period. We will need to add a start date. However, we are not required to add an end date, but we can add one if it is applicable. We can also add a cancellation deadline for tracking purposes. We can add an additional agreement period, but it cannot overlap the current agreement period. Optionally, we may link an internal contact from the Users app, such as an ERM librarian. The next section is for agreement lines. We will add the agreement lines after we have created and saved the agreement. We can choose to add a license. Adding an external license allows us to add a license that is either stored on our local computer through uploading a file, is stored in a physical location at the library, or is stored at a link, for instance, in Google Drive. Optionally, we can also add a license that is a record in the Licenses app in FOLIO. We can link to the license if it has already been created through this pop-up. We will need to select a status for the agreement. In this case, the license is controlling. In the next section, we can link organizations from the Organizations app in FOLIO. Choose a role and add additional roles if necessary. Note that we can also add additional organizations, and organizations do not need to be vendors. They could also be related organizations such as a library consortium. Finally, we may add supplementary documents, an e-usage data provider from the e-usage app, or we can link to any related agreements. In this case, we do have an agreement that the current agreement will supersede. Choose that agreement from the list and choose the relationship. Now that we're done adding information to the agreement, we can save and close the agreement. If we wanted to go to the Organizations or Licenses app to create a record there and link to this agreement, we could do so now. Then choose Edit from the Actions menu to add those links. However, the next thing that we're going to do is add our agreement lines. To add an agreement line, choose the agreement lines from the drop-down menu and choose Actions, New Agreement Line. Here is where we can link our e-holdings to the agreement line. Choose Link e-resource to search the e-holdings app and find the package or title that you would like to link to this agreement. Let's link to the Science Direct package. We can add an additional description, notes, active dates, And we can also choose whether or not these e-resources should be suppressed from our discovery layer. If we want to easily create another agreement line, we can choose Create Another before we save. This time, let's add a title. Let's add the body image journal. We have now successfully created an agreement and linked it to the relevant holdings in our eHoldings app. That concludes this FOLIO training on the Agreements app. Thank you for watching.